Hello! I'm back. You're back to where you should be, and I got a new t-shirt. So Friday and Saturday I was at Donington Park. My first visit to the park in a very long time. But some insanely competitive racing going on. So over the weekend we had different types of touring cars. I mentioned last week about the classic Tourings and super Tourers. So when we say classics, I mean real classics. There were things. So the different categories included the pre-66 classic saloon and historic touring cars. So that was 4-seater saloon cars marketed before the 1st of January 66. So things like Hillman Imps, that sort of stuff. Some very early minis, that sort of thing. Then we had the pre-83, so that was Group 1 touring cars, 4-seater saloon cars marketed before the 1st of January 1983. So some of those cars are only just older than me. So yeah, you had Mark 1, Mark 2 Escorts, Ford Capris, things like that. That was insane how quick some of these older cars were. We also had the pre-1993 touring cars, so 4-seater saloon cars marketed before the 1st of January 1993. So some old BMW E30s, M3s, that sort of thing. Some Sierras. All sorts of different sort of cars amongst that. Then we had the 03s, pre-2003 touring cars, so 2-wheel drive, 4-seater saloon cars marketed between the 1st of January 93 and the 31st of December 2002. So Honda Civics, those sort of quite lightweight but very powerful cars. Then we had the Boss, which is the Boss stands for Blue Oval Saloon Series. So this is quite open. So 4-seater saloon cars manufactured by the Ford Motor Company based on the standard production shell and which were marketed before the 1st of January 2011. What I mean by open is basically if it had a Ford Oval and it came out before 2011, you could race it. And it was good because you had a multitude of different cars. You had Ford Anglias versus Ford Escorts, Ford Fiestas from the mid 2000s, XR2s, all sorts of bits and bobs. That was really good racing. We also had the classic and historic Thunder Saloons. So fanboy alert again. So Jimmy Broadbent was entered into the class. I think it was the classic Thunder Saloons with his MX-5 running at 600 brake horsepower. These cars are pretty much open. Some of them were factory set up. So the general description of the class was 4-seater saloon cars based on the standard production shell marketed before the 1st of January 2011 and historic Thunder saloon cars marketed before the 1st of January 1983. I don't know how Jimmy's MX-5 fits amongst that because it's a 2-seater, 2-door sports car. It's not really a saloon as such. But yeah, he was racing amongst some incredible cars. There were Ford Falcons, like the 80s V8 supercars, Australians in V8 supercars. There was Holden Commodores. There were just ridiculous cars. Honda Civics that were absolutely tuned as high as they would go. It's almost an unrestricted race category. And then we had the Super Tourers, which is what I really wanted to see. So the CTCRC Super Tourers is open to genuine period correct touring cars built to FIA technical regulations. So that included the 80s and 90s touring cars like BMWs, that sort of stuff, right the way up to the Honda Integras, late sort of mid to late 2000s, all of which were either carbon copies or genuine ex-racing cars used by some of the individuals that I listed the other day in my last video. So Anthony Reid, Paul Radicic, those Matt Neal, those sort of drivers. Obviously, those drivers weren't in the cars at the time. These are all people that have bought these cars and then run them again. The Super Tourers race, first race that I got a chance to watch, didn't end too great for quite a number of the drivers. On the outlap, warming up the tyres, they were coming up through Coppice, and unfortunately the Paul Radicic Mondeo dumped its oil all over the track. Obviously that was catastrophic for that car, and that was that one out of the race. Under green lights, was coming down through the Craner curves towards Old Hairpin. Nissan Almera on the inside of the Honda Accord just got a little bit wayward, purely down to the intermittent weather that we'd had. Inside line of the track was a little bit wet, and then came together with Honda Accord and took both those cars out. Unfortunately, on the very last lap of the race, the Honda Integra was coming down through the Melbourne loop toward Melbourne Hairpin, and his throttle stuck open. Very, very scary impact with the tyre wall, and luckily the driver was okay, but it did mean that the car was a huge mess. This put it out for the rest of the weekend. This only left the Vauxhall Astra VXR for the rest of the weekend. Saturday, when they went out to do the Super Tourers race, i.e. one car doing timed laps, he had a major issue as well, so that was him out of the race. What race he had. Bit disappointing, but as long as all the drivers were okay, that's the main thing. It didn't detract from how good a weekend I actually had. He also had the British Endurance Championship. That was good to watch, with a multitude of different high-performance cars. Some Ferraris. There was a Audi R8, a Lamborghini. I think it was a Gallardo. But yeah, like almost sort of GT4, GT3 type cars. There was Porsche, that sort of stuff. They were out on track for up to 2 hours at one of their races, which meant that they had to have a minimum amount of pit stops, that sort of stuff. That was interesting to watch. So we had the Dunlop Mini 7s, which are the, again, minis, but not quite. I think they had to be a maximum of 1000cc. Yeah, it was just a multitude of different racing. And Donington Park, especially this time of year where the trees aren't covered in leaves and stuff, the view was absolutely spectacular. You'll see some of the pictures and videos and stuff as I go through. What an event, and such a friendly paddock. Like, you could go and speak to any drivers, go and look around the cars, walk in and out of all the garages, taking photos wherever you wanted to, that sort of stuff. And you can see that from some of the access that I got. Yeah, the whole event was just brilliant. And then on the 30th, we had some more racing going on. So, yeah, the minis were back out again. Another race for those. No endurance. We did have some of the Superkart series on both days, actually. These are ridiculously powerful go-karts, essentially. So, yeah, they even have aerodynamic fairings and things like that, because they're pushing like ridiculous amounts of power, capable of anything up to 100, 120 miles an hour. Yeah, it just, the whole weekend was fantastic. this isn't my normal type of video. My normal stuff is sim racing with iRacing and seeing how I progress through the licenses. There'll be a few races coming up over the next few days. I need to get back because we're now heading into the new week, and I think I may have missed out on one of the races in the previous series because it's been quite a chaotic week last week. But yeah, so stick with me. So what I'll do is I'll put a link up to the two, probably in those two corners there. I'll put up links for Donington Parks, both days racing, so they stream it live. I'll put a link down here for to like and subscribe, and then on this side will be a link to Killcams. His latest video is another spin-off of the Half-Life series, so please click on that. And if you like seeing all the death bits of games that without all the story. But yeah, so Donington Park, Killcams, like and subscribe. See you next time.